Hello and welcome to a new section on remote desktop capture. What is remote desktop capture? So in this diagram you can see that on the left is the victim's computer, on the right is the attacker's computer. Remote desktop capture is to get a desktop image of the victim's computer and send it to the attacker's computer. Now this image can be a still image or a dynamic updating image. There are three solutions to implement desktop capture. We are going to go through each one of them in increasing level of difficulty. The simplest one is the standalone desktop capture. In the standalone desktop capture, the capture is done locally. There is no attacker machine. That means you are simply writing a program to capture the desktop image and you save it locally. Then, in the second example, the second solution is where we have two machines. We have a direct connection remote desktop capture where the attacker initiates connection to the victim's PC and requests desktop capture. The victim PC captures the desktop image and sends to the attacker. The attacker then displays the image in a picture box on the user interface. And then the third type of solution is reverse connection remote desktop capture. In this solution, the victim PC initiates connection to the attacker. And then the victim's PC captures the desktop image and sends it to the attacker. The attacker then displays in picture box on the user interface. The difference between the second and third one is who initiates the connection. In the second method, the attacker initiates the connection. In the third method, the victim PC initiates the connection to the attacker. Now the reason why we start off with number one is so that you can get a basic understanding of how a desktop can be captured. Once you have understood the basic principles of how to capture a desktop, then you can split it into two sections, the attacker part, the attacker machine part, and the victim machine part. The same thing with number 3. And the reason why there's a difference with number 2 and number 3, we will look at it in the next slide. So take a look at this first. This is the simplest of all, the standalone desktop capture. On the left is a user interface of the program that we will write. Now these screenshots are taken from my book, How to Write Your Own Remote Access Tool in C#. So in that book, this diagram is labeled as figure 11b. So in figure 11b, when the user clicks on the button Capture Desktop, the program will take a snapshot of the desktop and save it in the same folder where the program is running. If the program is running in the C drive, then the snapshot will be saved as cdesktop.jpg. To view the captured image, just open it with any picture editor and you should see something like figure 11c. So this is an example of a picture of a desktop capture using this program. So this is the simplest of all desktop capture. There is no attacker machine, there is no victim machine. You are just doing this for the sake of learning how desktop can be captured by programming. Then we come to the second type of solution, direct connection remote desktop capture. So on the left is your victim's computer. It is also known as the server because it is waiting for connection. That is why it is called the server. On the right is the attacker's computer. It is called the client machine. Why? Because it is initiating connection. That is why it is called the client. So in this simple example, we assume that there is no firewall between the victim and the attacker, so that the attacker can directly initiate a connection. So this can happen if both machines are in the same local area network, in the same network segment. Then you can do this, direct connection. So the attacker computer will initiate the connection to the victim's computer. The victim's computer will then capture the desktop and sends back the desktop image to the attacker's computer. Now note here, although we are capturing a desktop image, we can still make it dynamically a dynamic image. That means it's almost like a video image if we keep refreshing it in a short period of time. So if we keep refreshing the desktop image, that means that if the victim's computer periodically updates the desktop image to the attacker's computer, then it will appear like a video, like a remote video capture. Now there is one problem with this. Now in this direct connection, it will not work if there is a firewall. For example, if let's say the attacker's computer is not in the same local area network, not on the same network segment as the victim's computer. This can happen if the attacker is on the internet and the victim's computer is behind a router or a modem or behind a firewall. In that case, the attacker's computer will not be able to initiate connection to the server because the firewall will block it. So in such a case, we cannot use direct remote desktop capture. So what is the solution? The solution is to use reverse connection remote desktop capture. Why is it called reverse? It is reverse because now the victim's computer becomes the client and the attacker's computer becomes the server. So in this type of reverse connection, the victim's computer will initiate the connection to the attacker's computer. And this will be able to penetrate the firewall if you are using well-known ports like port 80 for example. So port 80 is usually not blocked by any firewalls, and port 80 is also not suspicious, so that is why it will work. It will go through the firewall. So in this case, the victim's computer now is called the client, and the victim will initiate the connection to the attacker's computer, and then the attacker can use the newly established socket to request for the desktop, and then the client computer will be able to send the desktop image. So if you are going to implement this, then the victim's computer will have a client rat installed in it. So if the client rat is installed in it, the client rat will regularly try to reach out to connect to the attacker's computer, which is your command and control server. So if the command and control server, if the attacker's computer is not up or unreachable for whatever reason, then the victim's client rat will be able to keep on trying and again at regular intervals. So this is the architecture of a reverse connection remote desktop capture. So in the upcoming few lessons, we are going to look at all three types of solutions, starting with the simplest one first, which is your standalone desktop capture, and then gradually move on to direct connection, and then finally to the reverse connection. So that's all for this conceptual lecture. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.